Shifting south, the heart of Kruger National Park in South Africa is witnessing fierce beats of survival. As the dry season sweeps through, causing vegetation to wither and bushes to die out, the camouflage veil of predators is completely torn away. In this wide-open world, the laws of the savanna begin to be rewritten by the size and wisdom of the era of giant herbivores. In this brutal arena, the beginning of a new life is no less arduous and violent than a sentence of extinction. The mother giraffe must endure a grueling 15-month pregnancy, but the gift of birth for the calf is a free fall from a height of nearly 2 meters onto the hard ground. This small recruit stands 1.8 meters tall and weighs nearly 70 kilograms. It opens a 25-year life cycle ahead. But first, it must survive its very first hours at just 2 weeks old. This fragile life has already entered the sights of bloodthirsty hunters. The breathtaking chase explodes on the dusty ground as the lion pride launches a sudden attack. The dark yellow ghosts charge like the wind, forcing the giraffe into a life-and-death speed race. Despite their colossal bodies, these herbivores do not resign themselves to being sacrificial prey. They are ready to fight back with the most dangerous primitive weapon. At speeds of up to 56 kilometers per hour, the giraffe's long strides trample thorn bushes, trying to break through the encirclement. As a lioness closes in and prepares to leap at its hind leg, the giraffe suddenly unleashes a rear kick of destructive force. The power of the colossal muscle mass strikes through the air, grazing the predator's mane and slamming onto the ground with a dry thud. This lightning-fast resistance is a stern warning. Even the gentlest giants can turn into brutal gladiators when pushed to the limit. Yet, on the other hand, the lionesses are also mothers pushed to the brink to find nutrition for their cubs. Upon reaching maturity, a giraffe will weigh over 1 ton, a sturdy foundation for a height reaching 5.8 meters, with an iconic long neck that accounts for 2 meters. Despite this massive stature, their neck structure, strangely enough, possesses only 7 vertebrae. This is completely identical to the number of neck vertebrae of a human. This body feature inadvertently creates immense pressure on the circulatory system, while limiting their flexibility in life and death duels against predators. This unprecedented and supreme stature has transformed the giraffe into an irreplaceable entity in the savanna ecosystem. They stand like mobile observation towers, living lighthouses possessing a panoramic view from above. From a distance of hundreds of meters, The giraffe's keen eyes can easily pierce through dense bushes. They can detect the faint trace of a leopard's tail or the mane of an approaching lion. For low-level herbivores such as zebras, wildebeests, or warthogs, whose vision is always limited by tall grasses, the giraffe is the most reliable early warning system. With just an alert tilt of the head or a sudden halt, the signal is received. The hurried steps of the giant immediately send a signal to the entire herbivore world below. A wave of silent alarm spreads as zebras raise their heads and antelopes begin to flee. The presence of the giraffe not only protects their own lives, but also acts as a guardian shield. It shelters the peace of all species across the vast savanna. Within the vast savanna kingdom, not all giants are constrained by their own massive stature. This place nourishes wise herbivorous sovereigns, those who know how to turn their colossal body mass into an impregnable biological fortress. The African elephant stands there as the representative of absolute power on land. With a body structure weighing up to 6 tons and standing over 3 meters tall, their length from trunk to tail exceeds 7 meters, creating a majestic silhouette that extinguishes all pride from predatory beasts. Yet, the ultimate weapon that helps elephants dominate does not lie purely in their rippling muscle mass, but is crystallized from a treasury of memory passed down through thousands of years. They establish a tightly knit matriarchal society, operating on the foundation of loyalty, absolute cohesion, and the spirit of no one left behind. Supreme power belongs to the matriarch, the oldest and most experienced female. Within her great mind is a living almanac, storing maps leading to secret underground water sources through devastating droughts. She also holds codes to identify hazards from miles away. Using infrasound, low-frequency sound waves below the threshold of human hearing, the matriarch can coordinate, transmit messages, and summon the entire clan across distances of several kilometers. In the wild, protecting the succeeding generation is the supreme tenet, a mandate from the blood. As a mother elephant guides her small treasure across the plain, a rhinoceros suddenly appears as a troublemaker. Renowned for its blurry vision and stubborn nature, the one-horned beast makes a fatal mistake by challenging maternal authority. A massive blast of compressed air from the mother elephant's vast lungs is pushed through her laryngeal folds. The sound is amplified along her 2-meter-long trunk, creating a disastrous sound reaching 117 decibels. This acoustic shockwave strikes directly at the rhinoceros's eardrums and sensitive nervous system, breaking its will to fight. It forces the rhino to back down in humiliation before a bloody collision can occur. The rhino's 2 tons of muscle are completely helpless against the mother elephant's fierce maternal instinct to protect her calf. However, the savanna always harbors cruel twists, where the boundary between hunter and prey can flip in a single breath. In a dark corner, a lost lion cub carrying wounds is gasping for air in a land devoid of compassion. Its archenemy, the cunning pack of hyenas, has followed the blood trail. Like the rhinoceros, elephants have relatively limited vision, so they do not notice the young lion lying motionless in the bushes. Conversely, their matchless keen hearing makes the herbivorous giant rage at the cowardly cackling of the hyenas. The African elephant inadvertently appears as a savior, scattering the pack of hyenas and granting the lone young king a miraculous chance of survival. But nature does not always write fairy tales. Facing expeditionary lion prides that have been tempered into elephant hunting specialists in the Chobe region, an elephant calf can hardly escape the clutches of death. As the calf's breath fades, the mother's intense grief is amplified by her extremely sensitive limbic system. She refuses to surrender, continuing to stand and shield her calf's cold body before the hovering beasts of the wild. Right in that tragic moment, through infrasound signals transmitting vibration. At the southern boundary of Kruger National Park, when ferocious tropical storms from the Indian Ocean make landfall, rainfall can reach a record 200 millimeters. At this time, the water level of the Crocodile River suddenly rises by more than 5 meters. This transforms the peaceful flow into a violent waterway, where the current grows stronger. The riverbanks disappear, and every animal near the water must quickly adapt or retreat. For the hippopotamuses that inhabit the Crocodile River, these seasonal floods are not simply destruction, but part of the rhythm of the river. The rising water expands their territory and reconnects habitats that remain isolated during the dry season. Where the river surges lies one of the most fiercely defended territories in Africa. The hippopotamus may appear calm on the surface, but it possesses one of the strongest territorial instincts among large mammals. the turbid water, groups of up to 30 individuals may gather together. Only their eyes, ears, and nostrils remain visible, while the rest of their enormous bodies stay hidden below the surface. Although they spend most of the day resting in water, hippos are far from passive creatures. Every movement within their territory is carefully monitored, especially when the river becomes narrow, crowded, or disturbed by floods. Although hippos spend much of their lives in water, they cannot breathe underwater. Instead, they can hold their breath for several minutes and must return to the surface to breathe through their nostrils. Even while sleeping, this instinct continues to work automatically. A resting hippo can rise to the surface, take a breath, and sink back down without fully waking up. From an evolutionary perspective, the hippopotamus is, surprisingly, the closest living relative of whales and dolphins. Both lineages shared a common ancestor approximately 55 million years ago. Although their evolutionary paths diverged long ago, they still share several remarkable traits. Both possess smooth skin with very little hair and spend much of their lives closely associated with water. Their skin is also one of the most unusual features of their body. Because hippos have no true sweat glands, they secrete a reddish, oily fluid that helps keep the skin moist and offers some protection from sunlight. This red secretion is often mistaken for blood, but it is not blood at all. It acts more like a natural sunscreen and protective layer, allowing hippos to endure long hours under the harsh African sun. Adult males are equipped with enormous ivory canines that can reach lengths of more than 50 centimeters. These teeth are not used for feeding, but serve as powerful weapons during territorial disputes. When threatened, a hippopotamus can open its jaws to nearly 150 degrees. This dramatic display serves as a warning signal that few rivals or river animals are willing to ignore. Despite being pure herbivores with a seemingly slow and clumsy appearance, hippos can become one of the most dangerous animals for any creature that approaches the riverbank. They rarely tolerate intrusions and will aggressively defend both their space and their group. Along the rivers of Africa, few animals are willing to challenge a dominant hippopotamus in its own domain. Reigning across the vast savannas of southern and eastern Africa is the African buffalo. This entity is dubbed the maker of Black Death, with a wild muscle mass reaching 900 kilograms. To operate this massive biological machine, each individual must consume 30 to 40 liters of water per day. They rarely accept moving more than 15 kilometers away from river and stream lifelines. The thick layer of mud covering their hide is not merely dirt, but a smart protective armor. It helps them regulate body temperature under a 40 Celsius furnace while acting as a chemical shield to repel parasites. Today, the most terrifying parasite appearing is not a blood-sucking insect, but a 9-headed death. A ravenous lion pride has targeted a lone giant. In their frenzy for fresh meat, the predatory beasts miscalculated their position. Resilient endurance is the ultimate defensive weapon of the buffalo. For 4 grueling hours of struggle, the lone giant patiently dragged the entire hunting pride into the middle of a deep lake. Here, the physical laws of the battle were instantly overturned. Under the cold water, the speed and flexibility advantages of the felids were completely neutralized by buoyancy. The lion's will to survive suddenly shattered against the lightning-fast horns of the prey. Yet, the true authority of the buffalo has never been decided by a single individual. Their grand power crystallizes from a highly organized, tightly knit community gathering into colossal herds. To decide the direction of movement of this entire mobile kingdom, mature females perform a special voting ritual. The final route of the herd is a precise biological calculation based on the consensus of the vast majority. As the buffalo army reaches southwestern Kenya, the sacred Maasai Mara welcomes them with a deadly silence. Within this colossal herd are small clans of mothers and calves. While scattering to graze, one clan inadvertently creates a fatal vulnerability for age-old tragedies. A weak young calf resting under its mother's shade immediately enters the sights of death. Utilizing headwind currents to erase their scent, the predators deploy a classic pincer movement. This is carefully designed to divide and isolate maternal love. The mother buffalo falls into the trap of being outnumbered and pushed to a cruel boundary. She must choose between saving her own life or rushing in to protect her offspring. The final appearance of a dominant pride male lion delivers the deciding blow, ending all hope. It is brutal, but it is the unshakable, primitive heartbeat of this land. However, The savanna has never been a sanctuary for one-sided battles. Sometimes the hunted decides to rewrite the rules of the game with blood. The cry for help of the mother buffalo triggers a coordinated, all-out counterattack from the entire herd. Smooth group coordination, along with immense kinetic advantage, always crushes solitary claws. The African buffalo possesses an astonishing long-term memory and a persistent instinct for revenge. They are capable of remembering the exact appearance of predators to set up retaliatory ambushes, even years later. Lion versus buffalo is the clash between the supreme predator and the most aggressive prey. Their eternal war is eloquent proof of the fragile balance of nature. As the dry season sweeps across the savanna, it completely devours the green on the surface. This transforms the grassland into a barren desert and pushes all species into a severe bottleneck. Unlike ordinary herbivores, the warthog has found a lifeline buried deep under the earth. They possess a short neck firmly attached to an extremely powerful muscle system. Combined with characteristic thick calluses at the wrist joints, this allows warthogs to kneel for hours with resilience. They easily dig and overturn the parched mud to excavate succulent tubers. However, focusing on digging deep underground always demands a very high price. There is a severe reduction in vigilance against hazards during this process. Recognizing this fatal vulnerability, a cunning lioness quietly crouches. The queen of the savanna understands that a predator must not be careless before the warthog. Thanks to a continuous self-sharpening mechanism while chewing, the warthog's curved tusks have been tempered into razor-sharp daggers. They are ready to slash the flesh of any tyrant. The lioness is always wary of that close combat weapon, but this time she completely underestimated her target. Within the seemingly clumsy body of the warthog is a dense system of fast-twitch muscle fibers. In the blink of an eye, they can release a terrifying burst of speed reaching 48 kilometers per hour. The warthog completely deceives the predator's tracking system in a few short hundredths of a second. It charges straight down into its dark burrow and leaves the meat-eating giant bewildered amidst a cloud of dust. But this struggle is only the prelude to the Great Migration. This event takes place on the colossal stage of 30,000 square kilometers of the Serengeti Mara ecosystem. A rolling wave of life, with more than 2 million creatures, flows endlessly. They embark on a grueling 800-kilometer journey that knows no concept of stopping. They move according to a primitive call from millions of years ago, hunting for rain and lush green pastures. This great flow of life, in reality, is a brutal mobile feast for carnivores. Acting as resilient pioneers and diligent guardians are the zebras. Zebras are equipped by nature with superior characteristics for survival. They possess a panoramic view of nearly 360 degrees and ears that rotate flexibly like radar dishes. Their extremely keen sense of smell helps identify the scent of death from a distance. When facing danger, zebras can immediately activate a maximum speed of up to 65 kilometers per hour. Random, highly variable zigzag running patterns are their ultimate defensive strategy. These are designed to completely disrupt the predator's intercept trajectory calculations. However, the deadly Mara River bend is always a chaotic trap of madness. The violent roar of rushing water and collective herd panic can paralyze the sharpest senses. Lions are extremely territorial creatures that choose to ambush at strategic bottlenecks right on the riverbank. As a zebra struggles to emerge from the water, a lioness leaps out of ambush. She has the unshakable belief that her body weight and 1,000-pound jaw will execute the final verdict. Yet, she underestimated the iron will of a warrior pushed to the wall. With a lightning-fast reflex, the zebra spins and unleashes consecutive rear kicks with its solid hooves. This delivers a terrifying impact of nearly 1.4 tons straight to the predator's face. The thunderous blow shatters the killing intent, allowing the zebra to escape the clutches of death by a hair's breadth. It leaves the apex predator dazed and in pain amidst the dust. Witnessing the successive failures of her kind at other stages of the migration, a male lion decides to change tactics. He chooses a much bolder strategy by setting his sights on the wildebeest herd. In February, the entire savanna is shaken by the rutting season, a time when the most primitive and passionate instincts explode with force. Throughout the grueling journey, the ultimate survival weapon of the wildebeest is the dilution effect. This effect involves using the colossal numbers of the population and non-stop movement as a steel shield to dazzle the enemy. But at this crucial moment, the flow of life is forced to a bottleneck. The perilous bend of the Sand River appears as a perfect geological trap arranged by nature beforehand. Nearly 200 kilograms of dense muscle from the leap of the Lord of the Cliffs collides heavily with the parched ground. This creates a terrible impact force capable of breaking any sturdy skeletal structure. The male lion now turns into a brutal ghost and an unstoppable whirlwind. The unfortunate wildebeest officially becomes the next sacrificial offering to maintain the prosperity of a felid pride. In this wild arena, life is ultimately a bloody gamble where the only winner is the one who dares wager its own existence on a fateful leap of destiny. A great arid land stretches across the territory of 11 countries, occupying a colossal area of more than 9 million square kilometers. This is equivalent to the scale of the entire European continent. In this scorching desert, the largest sand kingdom on the planet, temperatures can reach a brutal 50 degrees Celsius under the daytime sun. Then, they immediately plummet below freezing when night covers the land. That extreme transition triggers intense convective air currents, giving rise to the Harmattan wind. These dry dust storms are powerful enough to obscure the sun and completely restructure the shifting terrain in just a few short hours. Despite being choked by harsh conditions, the Sahara ecosystem resiliently nurtures 500 plant species, along with nearly 300 animal species, through extraordinary evolutionary mechanisms. The journey of survival here is tied to the dromedary camel, the legendary ships of the desert. This is the only lifeline helping Tuareg or Berber nomadic tribes connect civilizations across the vast sea of sand. This creature has the miraculous ability to survive, even when its body loses more than 30% of its weight. This is a fatal dehydration threshold sufficient to kill any other creature on Earth. The single hump on its back is actually a colossal reservoir of white fat. When resources are depleted, their body automatically metabolizes this fat into energy while releasing endogenous water to directly hydrate the cells from within. When reaching a water source, camels can consume up to 110 liters of water in just 10 short minutes to prevent osmotic shock caused by water rushing in too quickly. Their unique oval red blood cells can stretch and swell up to 400% of their original size without bursting. Their protruding eyes with thick eyelashes and a transparent third eyelid act as a protective shield to stop sand particles from entering. The slit-like nostrils can be closed flexibly to reabsorb every drop of moisture from their own breath, thanks to a sophisticated system of folded mucous membranes. Meanwhile, The Addax antelope is dubbed the ghostly phantom of the Sahara, with an alarming number of fewer than 500 individuals in the wild. When the blazing summer arrives, they don a pure white or pale yellow coat to reflect heat radiation back into the sky. They only truly emerge to be active when the freezing night falls. Conversely, the scimitar-horned oryx was once declared extinct in the wild due to brutal poaching and severe droughts. Today they are rewriting their own destiny thanks to dedicated reintroduction projects in Chad, Tunisia, and Senegal. About 160 adult individuals are beginning the journey to reconquer the lost kingdom of their ancestors. They possess the ability to travel continuously through arid deadlands without drinking a single drop of water. This is all thanks to their ability to conserve and extract every rare molecule of moisture from succulent food sources within. They turn tough shrubs and dry herbs into their own life-saving water reservoirs on their grueling journeys. As the brutal heat of the day gradually dissipates and the Sahara begins to breathe the freezing air of the desert night, another mysterious world immediately rises from deep underground. Stepping out of the darkness is the fennec fox, the smallest member of the Canidae family, yet possessing huge ears that account for 20% of its body's surface area. This colossal pair of ears operates as a dual super-sensitive radar system, both helping them dissipate heat to cool their body and having the ability to capture the smallest vibrations from prey hiding beneath the fine layers of sand. To move freely on the desert floor, nature has equipped them with natural fur shoes, a thick layer of fur covering the soles of their feet, protecting the fennec fox from being burned by the sand that still radiates intense heat. In the ruthless Sahara food web, the fennec fox occupies the position of a secondary predator. They are the terror of mice and lizards, but at the same time must always remain highly vigilant against larger shadows lurking from the sky and the ground. One of those powerful shadows is the Sahara cheetah, also known as the Northwest African cheetah, one of the rarest and most mysterious subspecies in the felid world. This legendary creature has gone completely extinct in more than 25 countries and currently has fewer than 250 adult individuals left in the wild. As the apex predator in this harsh ecosystem, the Sahara cheetah possesses an astonishing biological mechanism. It can extract and absorb all necessary water directly from the flesh and blood of its prey to sustain life, allowing this silent killer to survive for weeks without needing to find any liquid water source. Completely different from their relatives who hunt during the day on the savannas, the Sahara cheetah chooses the night as a camouflage cloak, helping them avoid exhaustion and dehydration from extreme temperatures. Their menu is an extremely diverse list of survival. And when hunger is pushed to the limit, even a colossal dromedary camel can fall into the sights of this death of the night. Yet, the cheetah's hunt is never easy, especially when facing the North African ostrich, one of the most proud and difficult targets to bring down on the desert. This feathered giant can maintain a frantic running speed of up to 70 kilometers per hour over long, grueling distances, while possessing thunderous forward kicks with terrifying impact force, sufficient to permanently end the pursuit of any predator. To survive under the harshness of the Sahara, the North African ostrich operates an elite temperature management system. They actively contract special muscle groups to erect their feathers, creating ideal spaces for air circulation to cool the skin surface directly. The ability to move continuously for days without a single drop of water has turned the harshness of the environment into their habit of life. Once freely roaming through 18 countries, now the kingdom of this giant bird has been extremely reduced, leaving only 6 scarce territories. Brutal poaching and illegal egg harvesting have pushed the largest bird on the planet into a red alert state, forcing it to be listed in Appendix 1 of the CITE's convention to seek a fragile chance of survival against the wave of extinction. In the heart of the harshest desert, where death seems to manifest in every grain of sand, the West African crocodile resiliently survives in remote rocky crevices and isolated oases. Deep molecular genetic analyses have unveiled an astonishing truth. They are completely distinct from their colossal and aggressive relative, the Nile crocodile. As the Sahara gradually transitioned from a lush grassland into a giant furnace 5,000 years ago, these West African crocodiles became trapped between the boundaries of life and death. To avoid being eliminated by nature, they have reduced their body size over generations, usually measuring only 1.5 to 2 meters, to adapt perfectly to the extremely limited resources in gueltas, stagnant pools of water on rocky ridges. As cold-blooded creatures, their lives are a rhythmic cycle of sunbathing in the harsh heat and sheltering in the shade to regulate body temperature. In contrast to the hibernation of temperate bears, the West African crocodile has evolved an extreme survival behavior to fight off death, estivation. When the water pool dries up, this ancient reptile buries itself deep under the cracked mud or hides in cool rocky caves, actively reducing its heart rate and metabolic rate to the minimum, patiently waiting for rare rains to revive its aquatic kingdom. Leaving the isolated oases and canyons sheltering the sacred crocodile, the Sahara continues to stretch toward the windy stone plains, hamadas, and the border Sahel belt. This is a fragile ecological zone where the scorching heat of the Great Desert begins to yield to barren thorn bushes and yellowing grasslands. But right at this harsh intersection complex social structures begin to rise in a proud symphony of survival. The Anubis baboon, olive baboon, steps out with an aura of authority, evoking the god who guided souls in ancient Egyptian mythology. As the Sahara becomes depleted of life, the superior intelligence of this primate allows them to manage and fully exploit any remaining nutrients. Their menu changes flexibly from fruits, seeds, and fungi to active hunts targeting insects and small mammals. As the flat terrain of the Sahel belt yields to the steep and perilous cliffs of the majestic Atlas Mountains, control of the Sandstone Kingdom officially belongs to another warrior, the Barbary sheep, Aoudad. Its powerful curved horns, which can reach an impressive length of up to 80 centimeters, are not only a symbol of supreme power in fierce territorial disputes, but also biological equipment for an austere life right at the edge of survival. They utilize thorny cacti to extract precious water molecules through complex intracellular metabolism, thanks to a renal system capable of concentrating urine to the maximum and a dehydration tolerance of up to 20% of their body weight. Barbary sheep can endure without drinking water directly for up to 5 grueling days. The resilient existence of this mountain sheep has been linked to the long history of survival of proud mountain tribes like the Berbers, writing an epic of intense will to live amidst a dead land. In the heart of the arid Adrar Plateau in Mauritania, a colossal geological structure with a diameter of up to 50 kilometers emerges, gazing intently back at the distant stars. That is the Richat structure, also known by its mysterious name, the Eye of the Sahara. Many bold hypotheses believe that this is the actual ruins of Atlantis, the golden capital that disappeared from the map of humanity. Despite purely geological explanations of erosion and uplift, the uncanny correlation between Risha and the ancient writings of Plato is still enough to spark astonishing suspicions. Plato once described the city-state of Atlantis as a perfect structure of alternating, concentric rings of land and water. This is a reflection uncannily precise when viewed from the air looking down at the Eye of the Sahara. The connection does not stop at geometry. About 700 kilometers north of this structure is the majestic Atlas Mountains. Ancient history records that the first king of this land was named Atlas, matching exactly the name of the founding emperor of the legendary kingdom of Atlantis. Even the oldest maps of the historian Herodotus place the trace of the Atlanteans right on coordinates belonging to modern-day Mauritania. In addition, the appearance of seashell fossils and ancient whale bones found right in the heart of the burning desert is ironclad evidence that this land once belonged to the deep ocean. This further strengthens the belief in a glorious Atlantis era before the great cataclysm occurred and yielded to the Sahara Desert. However, scientific truth is always colder and sharper than myth-shrouded legends. Modern scholars and geologists still pose a major question mark that shatters this hypothesis. If Atlantis truly sank into the sea in just a single day and night, as Plato said, then how is the entire current Rishat structure located at an altitude of more than 400 meters above sea level? Furthermore, it is pushed back deep inland, up to 500 kilometers from the Atlantic coast. Most serious studies point out that Plato's lost city must be located opposite the Pillars of Hercules, rather than a stone basin buried deep within the African continent. The concentric rings at Risha are actually the result of an eroded dome of magma rock over hundreds of millions of years. This grand coincidence will continue to be an enigma, stimulating the imagination of humanity. The border between chronicle history and myth has never had a final answer. At the eastern edge of the Great Sahara Desert, the Red Sea emerges as a vibrant but harsh blue strip. This is one of the saltiest and warmest seas on the planet, with an average salt concentration exceeding 40%. This is an inevitable consequence of extremely high evaporation rates and the complete absence of major rivers flowing in to supply water. An interesting fact is that this dense salinity becomes a major plus for divers. The Archimedes' buoyant force increases sharply, helping the human body float easily. It provides a much more relaxing swimming and diving experience than other oceans. The history of this gulf is linked to legendary Silk maritime routes and the bustling ancient ports of the Egyptians. For thousands of years, humanity has sought to exploit the rich treasures from the sea, but at the same time must always beware of its violent fury. Geologically, the Red Sea is actually an open wound on the Earth's crust, a branch extending from the Great Rift Valley of East Africa. As the African and Arabian tectonic plates began to drift apart tens of millions of years ago, this tectonic rift has continuously widened. Hydrothermal vents deep on the seabed continuously release massive heat energy and minerals into the cold water, creating a dramatic ecosystem. Geographical isolation for millions of years has turned the Red Sea into a unique evolutionary workshop. In this kingdom, 10% to 20% of the more than 1,200 fish species are endemic. Found nowhere else in the world, they coexist with more than 1,000 species of invertebrates on the vibrant coral reefs. This is also the sanctuary of nudibranchs, with the presence of more than 175 species. The treacherous rocky crevices are the hunting territory of cuttlefish, octopuses, and crustaceans. Among them, the pearl oyster Pteria aegyptiaca or the panther cowrie are typical representatives capable of enduring extreme salinity. They turn the harshness of ocean chemistry into a biological weapon to dominate the ancient coral reefs. The shallow coral reef system is home to a massive army of fish, up to 1,700 species, where marine organisms display a splendid feast of colors. From the tiny Red Sea clownfish hiding safely among venomous tentacles, to populations of butterfly fish and angelfish. The surgeonfish and the carpenter parrotfish possess strong jaws specialized in grazing coral. In that vibrant world, the orchid dottyback, the blue-cheek butterfly fish, and the masked pufferfish are unique highlights of this sea. However, hidden behind that peaceful picture is the ambush site of masters of camouflage and lethal toxins. That is the lionfish, with its splendid fins spread wide like a royal fan, but full of venomous spines. The stonefish blends perfectly into the reef like an invisible ledge ready to finish off prey. Giant moray eels lurk in dark crevices, always ready to dart out with a lightning bite. And right on the fine sand below, the leopard torpedo electric ray always has a high voltage current ready in its body. This turns its body into a state-of-the-art offensive and defensive weapon in the ocean. The Samadai Reef is dubbed Dolphin House in Egypt, the sacred haven of the spinner dolphin. This creature is famous for its unprecedented acrobatic dance, where they can jump up to 3 meters out of the water. They perform spins of up to 7 rotations around their body axis in a single leap. Scientists believe these extreme spins generate a huge mechanical impact force upon recontacting the sea surface. This helps them shake off stubborn parasites and dead skin layers clinging to their bodies. More importantly, the loud slapping sound from those water landings creates characteristic acoustic signals. These signals travel far in the saltwater environment with high sound conductivity of the Red Sea. They act as an internal communication system to maintain highly tight pod structures in surface waters. In a strange combination of nature, spinner dolphins are frequently seen performing bow riding behavior. However, the subject of their surfing is not human motorized vessels. They surf right in front of the snouts of giant whale sharks migrating along warm currents. They take advantage of the high-pressure zone and bow wave generated by the massive body weight of the world's largest fish. These intelligent dolphins can leisurely travel miles with almost no effort. Beneath those peaceful dances, the Red Sea is ruled by a majestic force of more than 44 different shark species. Squeezed into the kingdom of ocean killers, the whale shark emerges as a gentle giant. As the largest fish on the planet, it can reach a length of 18 meters and weigh up to 20 tons. To maintain its massive body weight in a nutrient-poor environment, the whale shark must perform bold, deep dives into the mesopelagic zone. Here, the sharp drop in water temperature helps them slow their metabolism to conserve energy. They return to the surface to warm up their body after these dives. The heat from the Sahara Desert radiating down to the Red Sea water is the ultimate catalyst for life. When surface water temperatures rise in summer, it stimulates powerful algal blooms. This is also when the giant phantoms appear to feed. As a typical filter feeder, the whale shark uses active suction or ram filtration methods. With its wide mouth of 1.2 to 1.5 meters, it can force more than 6,000 liters of water per hour through 20 specialized filter pads. These fine mesh structures trap plankton, small crustaceans, and fish fry of only a few millimeters. It expels excess water through its colossal gill slits, completing a grand cycle of survival in the deep sea.